You're listening to the King's Cast podcast. New episodes are released weekly. Follow on Twitter and Instagram at King's Cast, like on Facebook, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.
Welcome to King's Cast with D. Fresh, Eric, and Ryan. This is your weekly Sacramento Kings podcast for Kings fans by Kings fans. We are back. It's been a while. It's been a little bit of a layoff. We've been busy. Nothing's been going on, so we kind of had some things going on. Personally, we took a little bit of a break and just back to bring you guys a loaded episode. But as always, this episode is brought to you by Ziggy Smoke Shop. You can follow Ziggy on Instagram at Ziggy Smoke Shop 209. They have locations in Stockton and Tracy. Coming off this last week, guys, I don't know. I've been doing a lot of things personally. What have you guys been doing?
I am back to work full time. During the quarantine, we had a lot of talk about our lawns, okay? And just as an update, because it's been about a month, my lawn took a little bit of a hit, not going to lie. I had a sprinkler break in the back, and I didn't realize it until the grass was already yellow. So pretty much all my hard work during the quarantine is out the window. I had to start from step one all over again, and we'll get back there. Bright side though, my garden that I started during the quarantine went out yesterday. I got some nice plump squash and some good long zucchinis out there, so I'm very excited.
Damn, nice and long. Doug, what's good?
Man, thoughts and prayers for your burnout lawn now, Ryan. I've been thinking about that, so I'll keep those in my thoughts and prayers. I've been up to, things are starting to slowly open back up, which is nice. Been out to a restaurant, went out to a winery, so it's been nice getting back to some normal living things.
First restaurant, Doug, which was it? Chili's?
I went negative. I am a little higher than that. Went to the went to the Lodi Beer Company the other night. Very
okay. So I was on the Facebook. You're just scrolling through and they were talking about restaurants being open, like the Sac B, and I saw someone that was just I just so juiced to get back to Sizzler, just like all quarantine. Like they're just probably sitting there eating butter and bologna sandwiches, and they're just like, "Oh God, fucking Sizzler is open again. We're going.
Hey, funny story, real quick. Let me. All right, so a couple weeks ago, when stuff opened up back in Manteca, Eric, mom and dad called me, and they go, "Hey, when we're going out to dinner tonight, do you and Jessica want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean that sounds cool. Where are you going?" Dad in the background, "Hey, we're going to Sizzler." I was like, "Are you?" Oh God! So that our oaky ass parents went to Sizzler first as well, Eric. Just so you're aware.
Oh man, well, shout out to them for being slimy on that one. It's just, I don't know. I guess when in the lockdown, right, you start thinking about things that you miss and you take for granted. For me, number one was the haircut. My hair was so fucked, guys. I mean, it was long. It was getting in my ears. Same as everybody else. So like my barber down in Midtown. Shout out to Skills the Barber, Midtown Barbershop. He opened up and. Dude, I got that 9 a.m. first day appointment and went down and got my hair cut. So that was something, I was looking forward to. But as far as eating out, I still haven't eaten out yet. And a lot of it's just because I've been pretty busy. But in DoorDash, man, it's like I kind of got hooked on DoorDash throughout this whole thing, which is I don't know. Out here in Sac, though, you can get anything on DoorDash, guys. So it's like it's a little bit of an addiction,
DoorDash is convenient, but that shit adds up money-wise.
It does. Yeah, no, it does. It does. But when you got dirty dishes and you had a long day at work, and you can get that curry down there from the Curry Club down by the Capitol. That's where I like to go. I don't know if I've taken you guys there, Ryan. I think I took you there. Yeah.
Yes, I've eaten there before.
Yeah, so I got the Curry Club the other night. Deliver that thing in 15 minutes. Get that tikka masala, some garlic naan. You're good to go. Well, we got a pretty loaded episode, I think, so we probably should jump into it because last time we carried on and it went a long time, and I want to make sure we have time to roll into some of these topics because, like I said, it's been a couple weeks and there's a shit ton going on in the world, and really, we just felt, hey, let's take a step back. Let's take this opportunity to take a break because there's going to be a lot of sports, of basketball coming up in the next couple of weeks. And so it's just a good time to sit back, evaluate, and bring a show to you guys today. But we plan on being back moving forward with that regular scheduling. So plan to be a little bit more active and coming to everybody. So probably the biggest news of the last couple weeks in Kingsland wasn't the Kings making it into this condensed playoff shortened end of the season thing, which we're going to talk about. It's Grant Napier and Boogie Cousins coming back, which we wouldn't be doing anybody a service if we didn't come at you guys and keep it real like we always do and just drop our opinions as fans, because one thing we did notice is that there was a lot of no takes, I guess, going on when that happened. No one was willing to speak up or talk about anything. Everyone was just kind of piling on. So I felt we would have a little bit of discussion and just to put our thoughts out there because that's what we needed to do. So, Grant said what he said. I was on Twitter that night. This is what I do. I just scroll through Kingsland Twitter and just try to, chime in when and insert myself in conversations sometimes. But right away, I saw Boogie just throw that bait out there to Grant, and Grant with that big mouth, couldn't help himself but to take a bite. So he was up in there, and I'm going to say this. Grant has a big fucking mouth. He's had a mouth for a long time. We know that. We've had our run-ins with him on Twitter. We've had our opinions on Kingscast about him. So, I'm not surprised he just acted a fool on that, but put the floor out. What the situation, weird, right, guys?
Yeah, it was definitely a something that I didn't see. I remember I think I was at work, and it was Robbie that sent the screenshot of Boogie's initial, like, what do you think on the topic, Grant? And, you don't think that somebody who is a 60-year-old man who has been in the media for, 35 years would actually like bait into something like that. Well, he did. It's just so ironic that after all the run-ins that Grant and Boogie have had over the years, that this is the one that finally just, Boogie's the one who finally takes him out of his profession, dude. To me, it's just totally ironic. It's absurd, and I can't believe a grown man fell for the bait from Boogie fucking Cousins, dude.
It was so easy for Grant, dude, to just be, here's what I say. Like you said, be the more mature guy. Everyone knows that Boogie is an asshole, right? I had, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but, I used to be out there running some stuff out in West Sac, and I had a run-in with Boogie in a rec adult basketball league. And the guy's he's a bully, man. He's kind of an asshole. That's my experience, but it's known. Everyone knows. And so it would have been real easy for Grant at that time to just be like, yo, dude, probably now is not the time for this. Like, if you want to have a real chat, you can come on my show anytime. And it right there would have been what it needed to. But of course, Grant, that's his deal, right? That was always kind of his deal, is that he always needed to get the last word. He needed to be the one to put everybody over the top. He needed, and I just don't think he really thought how that would land. And I don't think we're interested in talking about what he said specifically and how that means, and a lot of people feel like they need to do that. That's not us. Our thing is that's on Grant, for saying what he said. Ultimately, the Kings can do whatever they want, I guess. Was it the right call? I don't know. I mean, the guy did do a lot for the community, and like maybe there could have been a better process about going about it. I don't really care at the end of the day, whatever happens, right? We're here for the Kings and whatnot. But the thing that I think we should probably address, and Doug, chime in because I know I didn't give you a chance to speak on the Grant stuff, was the Kings media that surrounded the whole thing. And it seemed like there was a real piling on, like a lot of opportunists who were pretty quiet or don't give hard takes, don't ever criticize anybody, which was pretty much everybody out there, right? Like, we are the type of people, we'll call people out on Twitter all day, right? Well, it's just like, that's dumb. That's a fucking dumb take. And then you got these guys who they all of a sudden Grant is getting canned, and it's like, oh, I have this cloak of safety now to start talking shit and just to come out and just say my piece. And it's like, that's not you, man. You're not being real. You're just piling on, and you're just piling on Grant for this. And I called out a couple people like, yo, what are you gonna do? You're gonna praise a guy who said something that's borderline maybe, and whatever the case, you feel one way or the other, and you're gonna praise this guy losing his career and cheer for that. I don't know, man. I didn't like that. So I know I'm going on, Doug. I want to hear your thoughts though on Grant, the media, and then the future of Kings media, really.
I have always had a mixed, feeling as a fan towards Grant Napier. I've always summed it up. My feelings for him is this: I can't stand him on the radio. I think he's just over the top asshole, and I think he really. I don't know if he's trying to do it to get people to listen, or if that's truly him. I mean, he's been doing it for so long; it's probably truly him. I can't stand listening to him on the radio. I've always been entertained. I mean, all three of us combined have listened to hundreds of Kings games that he's called throughout the years. And I mean, he was calling them before we were even alive. So I think we were used to that. And I've never really had an issue with him calling basketball games. I would just say, yeah, he's very opinionated. I'm mixed on him getting let go. But yeah, just like you said, he was baited by Bogi, kind of went full circle. They've never had a great relationship there. And right when Bogi got traded to New Orleans, Grant was the first one there to trash talk him, the following day on his radio show. So I'm mixed on it. I'm over it though. It's whatever to me.
So I did want to bring this on here when this all went down, and it was because you said something there, right? And I think I wanted to put this out to anybody who may be listening, and it's that you may think Grant is an ass, whatever. Okay, honestly, if I did sports talk radio in Sacramento, all these dumbass fans that call and say dumbass things, I would probably call him a dumbass too. I mean, to be honest, could you imagine getting a bunch of calls of just idiots that say dumb stuff? And that's kind of where Grant made his living, was shutting people down like that who didn't know what they would talk about, right? Or what they were talking about. One thing I noticed is that his abrasiveness on radio, which is extremely common, like on the East Coast and in big time radio, that's extremely common. That abrasive way of old school talk radio is how it used to be done, and we grew up on that, and that didn't really bother me. But it's a lot of these new age media people who didn't like that abrasiveness and said, well, I never liked him anyway. I didn't like that, and so he should have been fired. It's like lumping it all together, right? And that was the issue. Just because you didn't like a guy, it doesn't mean that I guess it justifies everything else. Like it was a weird, like I said, a nuanced issue. I felt like we needed to come and say it. I don't know if we wrapped it up. We said our 2 cents. It's one of those things. At the end of the day, though, fucking, we're moving forward. Like, it's about the Kings, and I just hope that the Kings media toughens up a little bit. But in my opinion, it doesn't seem like it's toughening up. It seems like it's softening up, and it seems like a lot of the media that's left in the places now are the Cowbell Kingdoms, the King's Herald. Now you have everybody on KHTK on edge. You have Deuce and Mo, who are more like fun or whatever, for what it's worth. You have Damian Marling, I guess, or Davian Barling. That's what it is, right? He's
Marling.
I don't know what he is as far as the Kings go, but he's kind of in the Sacramento media. So I don't know. It's like what's left there. It doesn't seem like now we have anybody who's. I don't know what the future of Kings media is going to look like. I think it's going to be soft.
I just want to say one quick thing, because you did bring up Damian Barling. A lot of people love him. A lot of people hate him. I listen to him on a regular basis. I enjoy his stuff. If you haven't yet, give a listen to his podcast, though, regarding Grant Napier getting let go, because he worked with him at KHTK for some time. And, there's he's against him, but he worked with him, and I don't think he does an actual Kings podcast, dude. I don't think he's going to put bullshit out there. Damian, I'm talking about. There's some stuff on there that you'd want to hear about him and working with Grant. And so I think that's important to listen to.
Well, that's what it is. I think moving on then off the Grant stuff, I'm gonna kind of throw a cut into our agenda right here, and since it's on new media, it's the it's the Sacktown Herald, which is going to be somewhat of our just I would say discussion later on. Is that what they're called? Sacktown Herald? Yeah, that's their name.
King's Herald.
King's Herald. Formerly Sacktown Royalty, right? That's where I'm getting that mixed up in my brain. So I know we were preparing for our show because we're going to talk later on the Kings top 50. You guys noticed the headline on that Herald, which is for fans by fans. You guys noticed that?
Definitely saw that.
Looks a little familiar.
I mean, not that it's like it's not the most original thing. It's not a copyright most original thing, but it's just kind of funny. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of been our deal, and I like to think that we're Kings fans. I think those guys should say more like for wannabe Kings journalists, for Kings fans, maybe, right?
something like that. And it's important, dude. We're just fans who are sitting at our houses right now, guys. It's not like we're trying to be super official, but it is. It's just funny when you see stuff like that because we have been on that for months now. So and honestly, I just saw this about 15 minutes ago. So it's just funny. It is what it is, man. We're not professionals. Hey, they want to come steal our shit or whatever they say happen. It is what it is. It's kind of flattering to us. Like we're just dudes sitting in our garages right now. So, heyo.
Though, is like I come at these guys. I think part of the we should take a step. We do this show like Ryan said because we're fans. Like we're not trying to be journalist guys. Like we just regular dudes, and it was like we were sitting back like a year ago watching the Kings games, and just we didn't like the narrative, and we thought there was another narrative that wasn't being told. I feel like these guys are part of the same narrative. It's the same narrative that of Matt George, of KCK, of the Herald, Cowbell Kingdom. It's just his narrative that's out there, and I try to have conversations with these guys all the time on Twitter, and you can't even get them to respond. Or when they do, it's like, "Good luck with your podcast," and it's like, "All right, dude, thanks, man. Like, we're just doing this for fun. You guys are the ones where we're the consumers. I would say we represent your consumers, and so it's funny for fans by fans, and then we'll talk about a little tidbit we found in there too when we go through the list, but." I think that I'm going to move forward because we actually didn't ever establish a trash take of the week, Doug. We didn't do a trash take of the week this week, but I got one. You want to move to that poll? Talk about the poll? Or I'm going to have to do the trash take of the week because I didn't post the poll for you, huh? Yeah?
Go ahead. Just go with it.
Okay, trash take of the week. So, new segment, trash take of the week, where we look at the trashiest takes out there. This one is a trash take to all the Kings fans who voted on this Twitter poll. You're trash. You're trash, right? Twitter poll, most underrated player on the Sacramento Kings is Bogdanovic. So shout out to all you trash takers out there voting Bogdanovic as the most underrated player for the Kings. Ryan, I wanted to bounce off of that poll and let you really elaborate on what is the trash take of the week, because on that poll, there was also another poll which was about shooting guards for the Kings. Who should start at shooting guard for the Kings when the season resumes again? And everybody voted Bogi. So most underrated and Bogi to start, which we have been pounding Bogi all year since day one. And I would say mostly 100% of the fans, they said that Bogi should start because Buddy is just better off the bench. So the reasoning was not that Bogey's a better player, he deserves to be in the lineup, or he offers anything in the lineup. It was more Buddy's just better off the bench. I think it's false, Ryan. I'm going to give you the floor for a while. I want you to hammer this shit.
Okay, so, like Eric said, we've been talking about this Bogey-Buddy situation this whole season. And when people come out and say that he's the most underrated and he should start, first off, you're 100% wrong. Okay, you want a guy who averages, I think it's like 14, 3 and 3 to be your starting two guard. When you have a guy like Buddy, who's the 3-point champion, who's dude, literally a walking bucket, and when he's hot, he is hotter than anybody else, pretty much in the league. And I think somebody said that Buddy's better off the bench he plays better, blah, blah. That's just maybe Buddy is just better than Bogi, and him being better off the bench than Bogi is that Buddy is just a better basketball player. I haven't had anybody come up to me or interact with on Twitter or social media and give me reasons why Bogdanovic is better than Buddy Hield. I don't think there are any. To me, but Bogi is a good NBA player, but he very much is overrated. People have fallen in love with Bogdanovic over these last few years, and the guy hasn't gotten any better since the day he's walked in the NBA. People forget that Bogdanovic came here as a 25-year-old, and since he's came in the NBA, he had a decent rookie year, but he was a 25-year-old who has been playing pro basketball for years. His second year, he was hurt, but his numbers were down. And then coming into his third year this year, it was back to his, averages from his rookie year. So, this whole narrative that Bogdanovic is a young budding star and, that he's going to be such a great player. It's absolutely ridiculous. The guy's older than I am, and I'm fucking old, dude. I hurt my shoulder yesterday, and I don't even know what the hell I did. So, I seriously, that's the way I see it, dude. People need to get over this narrative that Bogdanovic is a young budding star. He's older than Buddy. He's not as good of a player. So Eric, I see you raising your hand. What's up, man?
Well, I got a couple funny things though. I was trying to rip it, but I got a couple funny things because we have yet Doug, we got to do this, dude. Ryan, when he was like 18, 19, he is a Bogdanovic. What do they call it? Doppelganger, right? He's a doppelganger.
Yeah.
One time, Ryan was out before Kings game out at Sauced, and somebody came up to him and thought he was Bogdanovic, dude. Isn't that hilarious? Like, we gotta post the side by side for people just so he can get a meme clown or something.
You're a lot shorter than I thought.
Yeah. No. All right. So first off, the story was, Eric, were you there? I don't think you were there, right?
No, you just told me about it.
All right, so we're sitting in Sauced right there, dude, and I'm just, drinking a beer, and I'll give it to you when I was 16, 17. Yeah, probably. But, dude, since once I grew up and filled out, no, we don't look anything alike anymore. Sorry. But, so anyways, we're at Sauced. I'm drinking a beer. Some rando comes in, dude, like some random dude. I think he was, I don't really think he was a Kings fan. I don't know. It was weird. He comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, aren't you on the basketball team?" And I'm like, damn. Hey, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, someone like remembers my high school glory days. All right, cool, And the dude's like, you're on the basketball team, right? And I'm like, nah, man, I don't know what you're talking about. And he goes, no, you're on the Kings. And I was like, so I said, fuck it, right? I was like, fuck it. I was like, yeah, man. Because I already knew where this was going. I was like, yeah, bro, I'm so and so. And he goes, oh man, so cool. And fucking walks away, dude. That was it.
I just want to confirm for our listeners too that Ryan was not 16 or 17 drinking a beer in Sauce. That he was 16 or 17 like 10 years ago. So
who cares, man? Underage drinking is cool, dude. Haven't you ever seen Superbad?
Wow, Doug, trying to.
Hey, I'm just looking out for you.
Really throwing my.
Way to show your true. Yeah, way to throw your true shape out there on the podcast. Square. Hey, but before we move off of Bogdanovic, because we're going to continue to crush him forever until either everyone else recognizes it or until he's just clearly what we said is proven right. So
hold on, let me interject. Let me interject. I'm not going to crush Bogdanovic, okay, if he gets the contract that I think he deserves. That's one thing. Okay, that's fair. This will all be all of this Bogdanovic thing will be put to rest if the dude gets 12, maximum 13 million, like we've been saying. If he comes out and he gets a 12 million a year contract, I am all for it because you're going to get 14 points a game. That I am all for it. So that we'll lay that to rest right there.
We probably every time we go on a tangent to quote unquote me crush Bogdanovic, we should always throw that qualifier and that we our biggest gripe with that dude is the projected 18 to 20, even 17 to 20. If it's stupid, we think it's dumb. We go listen if you fucking haven't heard us talk about it. We've been consistent, okay. But really, the craziest thing, what's crazy is Bogdanovic is a very, very, very unique name, right, dude? Bogi is not even the best Bogdanovic in the NBA. I mean, isn't that saying something? I mean, the best Bogdanovic in the NBA. Like, what the fuck, Doug? What's it? Bojan Bogdanovic? Where's he at? Ryan, Utah right now.
Utah.
There's only two. So does that make him the worst in the
Yes,
NBA?
yes, that does.
Bogdanovic?
Both. If it ain't first or last, motherfucker. Okay, pull up Bojan Bogdanovic's stats just to drop that because he's better Bogdanovic.
Yeah, Bojan's nice though.
Hey, for a fact, I'm gonna do it like this though. I'm gonna do. I want to do their career stats. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do this year's stats. You guys,
that'd probably
know
be better. Like the last year or two would be probably better.
This year, obviously, our Bogi is 14-5, 3-2, and 3-2.
Our?
Okay. Yes. Well, he is. Unfortunately.
Our?
Okay.
You need
Bojan. Hold on.
Are
you gonna let me talk or what? Okay. Bojan Bogdanovic. Okay. For the Utah Jazz, 20.2 points a game.
Damn.
4.1 rebounds a game and 2.1 assists a game.
And he's hella tall too. He's like 6'9".
He's like 6'7", but yeah.
Well, here's my
6'8".
most impressive thing with him. He's shooting almost 42% from downtown. You know, since Bogdanovic is such an elite shooter here. No, this dude's shooting almost 42%. That's way more impressive.
Catch me Bogdanovic and I'm good to go.
What's Bogi shooting his 3-point shooting percentage? I know we've said it 100 times. It's just been a while.
36, and that's a huge drop off. Huge drop off.
Yeah,
you know what's pretty funny is we almost had the case of two Bogdanovic's in Sacramento, and if two Bogdanovic's were in Sacramento, you think people are just jizzing over themselves about Bogi now? Could you imagine like all the goofiness that would surround the Kings if they had two Bogdanovic's? Because a couple years ago, I want to say when he was coming off of the Wizards, maybe Ryan. Bojan, like there was some talk about the Kings trying to land him, but he got a pretty big contract. It didn't work out, but it was serious. Like the Kings
went to Indiana, right? Is that what
I think so? The Kings were pursuing him, and so you could already see it now. You know how these goofy ass people like to just two Bogdanovic's. I would fucking just be pissed all the time. You know,
they'd be calling them the Bash Brothers, like on Mighty Ducks, dude. I could see it now. I could see it now.
It's like a couple years ago when they're like, "Yeah, the Kings have a super team. It's just young." Shut the fuck up, like you know. God. I hate this. Oh man, the what are they called? Superlatives. I can't say that word ever. Superlatives. Is that what that means, Doug?
Superlatives. I mean, I could fucking definition look.
It's on me for trying to bring up fucking words that you can't say.
You're asking a bunch of guys who are sitting in their spare bedrooms superlative definitions, bro. Come on, man. You know,
that degrees wearing off year by year. Okay, let's move on to the big topic so we get through it, guys. The Kings Herald, they're our new target. Boom, they're our new target right now because we've been picking on Matt George, and we don't pick on Matt George, and then we pick on Cowbell Kingdom, and then Grant, and whoever. So, Kings Herald, we're coming for you a little bit right now because we don't like some of your writers, and we don't like some of your content. Some of your content I do like. Tim Maxwell, I do like him. That's about it, I think, right now. But they put out this Kings top 50 thing, right? And that is so tough. And first thing I remember I texted you guys, I'm like, "Hey guys, is there 50 players like the Kings have that are like top anything?" You know? So that was my first thought. I think that narrowing that list to top 15 would have probably saved this guy a lot of time and it probably been a little bit more fair and accurate. But they put together a top 50 list of Kings all time, which is really tough. I'm not going to nitpick because I don't know if I could put together a list like this, but some really some highlight stuff stand out. We don't need to recap the whole list, but we could do 1 and 2 because 1 and 2 was a debate between Ryan and I think. Doug, number 1, who was it?
Oh, I was on the other list. Okay, at 1 for the Kings, we have C-Web.
And number 2.
And number 2 is Mitch Richmond. Yeah,
Mitch Richmond. That was something that Ryan and I had kind of debated a while back, and my argument was that Weber was the best player of all time because I just think he at the time for a couple of years he was an elite power forward. Obviously, he started in the NBA All-Star game in the time of Garnett and Duncan and things like that. So he was good. There, and his stats were consistent, and he was on the best teams, I guess, in Kings history. And Ryan, what was your case for Mitch Richmond? You were kind of making the devil's argument, though. You can feel both ways, right?
This is the thing: is I didn't think that Mitch Richmond was more important or a better King than Chris Webber. I was playing devil's advocate for it, and I was just trying to break their argument pretty much, because I was trying to look at it in a different perception. I think what I was saying about Mitch Richmond was he was an elite scorer. He did take that shitty Kings team to the playoffs that one year. He was the All-Star Game MVP back when, like Michael Jordan was in the All-Star Game, so like I threw arguments like that. I think he had a little more All NBA teams. Maybe I can't remember, dude. It's been a while, but I thought I made a pretty good argument when it was down to it. I remember making a good argument.
It's a good argument. I think at that, when you're splitting hairs like that, depending on your perspective, you could make the case. I think for me, my counter to you is more like, if you want to just strictly look on statistics and what you think talent and some things like that, it's like Mitch Richmond had one winning season his entire time in Sacramento. That's all. That's it, right? Whereas Weber, obviously, the success they had. But then you do that though. You look, then it's like, okay, if you want to judge them based on not team success but individual success, that's when you can start putting in DeMarcus Cousins into the conversation. I don't think he's better than them, but I would say DeMarcus Cousins was so elite for a while that that's where it starts to get into that conversation. Now, Doug, find Cousins on the list, but if you could, and then what were you going to say, Ryan?
So I remember one of the arguments I did have against Chris Webber was when he got hurt, man, and the Kings when Brad Miller came in and the Kings went on that run in the on that season. They had the best record in the league, I believe, right? Or it might have been second best record. And that was one of the arguments for me. People talk about, how great Chris Webber is and stuff, when it's like, well, Webber wasn't there. He wasn't there and the Kings still succeeded. And there's a lot of talk said if Webber would, if he wouldn't have came back, that the Kings maybe would have advanced in the playoffs that year and stuff. So that was one of the things for me that kind of, Chris Webber was great. He was good. But when it came down to it and he wasn't there, man, if you're one of the greats, you don't survive that. Like your team should not survive losing their best player like that, and possibly being even better than they were with him. So that was I do remember having that argument.
Tough. It's a tough argument though, because we have a couple different sayings too. It's one of the things we've been critical of Cousins, right? It's like, how much can you praise a guy that has we would say somewhat inflated stats on a bad team? So that's always like a rule that me and you always are consistent and live by. But then also too, I get the argument that if you leave, that things should kind of crumble. But there's only been, in my opinion, one guy that's ever been consistent and true, and that's LeBron James. He is the ultimate like black hole, right? Like when he leaves, things fucking crumble. But you can go through time, even recently. I mean, look at Kawhi Leonard. He leaves the Raptors, and they seem to be doing well, right?
Yeah. I mean, so they go back to how they were without him,
Yeah, so it's the argument's good, but it's like that's what happens even in the Jordan and LeBron conversation, which one day we can have, but we'll wait on those, one day. But it's when you're having these GOAT conversations, these elite comparison conversations, it's splitting so many hairs, and it's like you got to place value on those little hairs you split and be consistent. Doug, were you able to find like where did Cousins fall on that list?
Boogie is ranked 6 all time in Sacramento.
Really?
Kings.
Okay, so who's ahead of him?
Oscar Robertson, Jerry Lucas, and Peja probably.
I don't think they put Oscar, right? Because I think it was.
Do you guys want me to read it?
I'm just trying to guess, dude.
Number five was Mike Bibby. Okay, guess I can understand that. Number 4, Vlade. Number 4 is Vlade.
Oh god, but it goes back to what we talked about a couple weeks ago with Vlade and him being retired and shit, right?
God, Number 3, Peja.
Okay, you can understand. You can understand Peja though.
This is I'm Ryan. I'm pretty sure this is only Sacramento, so Oscar Robinson would be.
Okay.
You could understand. You could understand Peja though. Like I'm not gonna. It's like
yes, Vlade is comical though. Vlade's comical.
Yeah, I mean, really. Let's compare the two in their Sacramento era.
I would take. I'm pretty
sure DeMarcus doubled his stats.
Doug Christie should be over Vlade when it comes down to it, man. Like that, we've had this conversation before. We've had this conversation. What does Vlade really do in Sacramento, dude? I remember he brought up the stats; they were fucking putrid, dude.
It's a lot of his stuff is like I know we all laugh at the shit is like the leadership, which there's some value, I guess. There's some value to that. I'm not gonna say there isn't value, but like when you start talking about rankings and shit, leadership is not an attribute that's like,
No.
okay, great, you're a great leader.
I want to
Like,
say
he was a
Vladi.
part of those. He was a part of those teams that people would consider the Kings' greatest era that never won a championship. So yeah, you're gonna get way overzealous players like Vladi Divac on that list.
The more like nuanced take about it would be that the type of that offense, that high post offense where the ball moved through the big man and stuff. People really got it. Was cool. That was hella cool basketball. I really enjoyed watching that. And Vladi did make that happen with his passing and whatnot. But that's great. We're making an argument for like why he was a great player for the team and all that, right? But the argument is like best players. And I agree with you. Doug Christie is maybe the most underrated player of the last 20 years for the Kings. It's like we always say every team needs that guy, right? In like the Tony Allen guy, like that type of guy, right? That's what he was, but he was elite. He was like the most elite at that.
Yeah. Doug Christie, being like a first team all defensive guy, and the Kings back in the day, they don't even take the Lakers 7 games if it's not for Doug Christie. You know what I mean? Like people who was going to guard Peja wasn't guarding nobody.
No. Like him and Red Fox rubbing hips out the corner, right?
Yeah, and then you throw in like the other side of it. Like if Bobby Jackson came in and they'd run Bibby and Bobby Jackson, those guys are both 6 foot. So outside of Doug Christie, there really wasn't a perimeter defender like that, man. And him having that first team all defense accolades huge. But I do want to point out, it's something that we pointed out before. I am 99% positive that like Jason Thompson and Vladi Divac's career stats in Sacramento are like pretty accurate. Like they're similar. Sorry. So I just want to similar. So I just want to throw that out there again because that to me is absolutely hilarious because we bash Jason Thompson all the goddamn time.
Speaking of Jason Thompson,
he was. Where was he? Yes. Where was he on the list?
He's the 26th greatest king of all time.
Oh god! So I bet you. Hold on, I bet you that his accolades under that. I bet you his accolades are like most games played, like stupid most minutes played. I swear to God, that's what it is, dude.
Please.
Hey, so the first one under his stats, which were 9.4 points a game and 6.9 rebounds a game, by the way, were first all time in games played.
I fucking told you, dude. I told you.
But the thing is, it's like you got to remember too, taking into perspective, like when you stick around for so long, you're gonna climb up the all-time list, especially for a shitty franchise. Like
that's
his second all-time in offensive rebounds.
Yeah, that's your
third all-time in total rebounds. Like, come on.
That's your only accolades, dude. You were a starting power for the shittiest starting power forward in the league on the shittiest team for like 10 years, bro. And that's why your stats are like that, dude. Most games played. I fucking knew it, dude. God.
And guess who's number 25 right in front of him? Frankie Garcia.
Oh God, another freaking loser we talked about, dude. God. Actually, I like Francisco Garcia. Actually, I shouldn't call him a loser. That was rude of me.
And in recent memory, though, like those guys ate up a chunk of years for the Kings. And when people, it's like when people associate with that era, and they have to pick someone out of that era, it's like who are you going to pick? Because those teams were legitimate, borderline, I would say D League type teams.
Oh, dude, yes,
they were D League players. They had D League players all day.
You had Dante Green getting run, bro. Francisco Garcia, Beno Udre, Jason Thompson. Ugh. Andres Nocioni. Ugh.
Hey, both those guys, Thompson and Garcia, don't forget, are on the Kings Cast all-time shit 5.
Oh, they are on the shit 5.
I forgot we did that.
Doug, where? Please, I don't remember. Please tell me Bogi didn't crack anywhere on this list that he shouldn't have.
Oh, you mean on the list at all, or where?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think he's on there, but like, can you just?
He's number 24.
Yikes. Oh my God, 24.
He made the top half, huh?
Only one behind number 23, who's Buddy Hield.
Oh,
that was.
That hurts my heart, man. That's so wrong, dude. That is a guy, Buddy. The last 2 years, 20 points a game. He's won the three. He's a 3-point champion. Like, God, that hurts me. Most 3-pointers
Hey,
in the first
already
3 seasons. Oh god.
I know. People, I don't know. People are crazy, man. I think we're just gonna have to keep hammering this, guys, every single week forever until people either stop listening to us because they're like, guys, we fucking get it, or we create an army of people who agree, or everyone thinks we're dumb and no one agrees, and then at the end of the day, something's gonna happen.
You
cares? We don't get paid.
Real quick, you know what I think is going to happen, right? And this is kind of off topic a little bit, but I know we've talked about this, that eventually Buddy, the way things are going, it looks like Buddy's not going to be here. If I had to pick somebody out of our quote unquote core, I think Buddy would be the odd man out from the way things are going. It's going to be interesting if he does get shipped out of town or he leaves, what he has to say. Because like everything you've heard is Buddy's a hard worker. He's super competitive. So it's just fucking eating at him that Bogdanovic starts over him. It's just like he's probably at home right now, just like fuck that guy, dude. So I don't want him to leave, but when it does, I would not be surprised if a lot of bad things come out about that.
We talked about way back. This is before the shutdown, before the season ended. We were talking about the future of contracts, and this was after the trade deadline. And one thing I remember I put out there right away was I think this means that Buddy's gone. And without going into it too much today, our reasoning, and I think we're all consistent in agreement here, is that he's going to be the guy that they're going to be able to actually probably move because of the way his contract's working, and he's the guy they'll actually be able to move and get value for,
get some value back. Yeah,
so that's why we were kind of predicting that early. Before we close out, though, guys, the list they used the official. They called it the very official and very mathematical Kang's score. So I liked that. They used the Kang's score, which is kind of accurate net gains with a Z. That was the Z part. Which factors? So they use the player's tenure, their role, their intangibles, and individual and team success. So what's hella funny is factored in there is their tenure, their role, and intangibles were all factored in, which is not something you should probably factor in. Really.
Intangibles, dude. Intangibles. That explains why.
Bogey's full of intangibles.
Yeah, that's why Bogey's in the top 25, dude, because they talk about intangibles. But you want to talk about tenure? Jason Thompson should be number 51 then, because he was on the worst team in the fucking league for years. So,
well, that would go part as team success. I think the team success actually probably didn't. I don't know. Maybe it worked for him. Maybe it worked against them.
That talks about your tenure, though. Like your tenure in Sacramento, they were the shittiest team in the league, and you were the shittiest starting power forward and the shittiest team in the league. So, to me, you're number 51. You're off the list, bud.
I fucking love, and when I say love, I mean I don't love, is the intangible guys, those intangible crowds, guys. I hate that. It's like, yeah, man, he's great in the locker room. He folds up his laundry and gives it to the laundry guy directly in the bag. He doesn't make him come and collect it. He's always tipping 20%. He holds the door open for the team as they walk out, man, and he's always willing to stay and take a photo at the end. He's just a great guy.
That's exactly, and it's funny because you can make that argument pretty much about any player. That's the go-to right there for
Bogi, I think. No, Bogi was out there buying kids stuff. Boogie Claws, man. He's doing his thing.
That intangibles and that kind of talk is the go-to for people that just like a guy, not because of his talent, and they try to make that they try to push that guy into the conversation, i.e. Bogdanovic. They try to throw him in the buddy conversation. Oh, he's just really got, all the intangibles, and that's that
locker room guy.
That's just that scapegoat argument, bro. Just that bullshit ass. You have no concrete facts. His statistical output does not match anybody else's that you're arguing against. So it really gets on my nerves, dude. I was gonna say grinds my gears.
I was just hoping you were gonna do that.
All right, guys. Well, shit. I think it's time. It's been a good episode. Fun to be back with you guys for sure. We're sorry for taking a little bit of a layoff. We whatever. You guys don't need to. You guys don't need to fucking listen to us every week, but listen to us when we do come on. Support the pod. Catch us out here on the Twitter. We love to chat, especially myself. Feel free to throw us in any shit takes that you see. Feel free to talk shit to us. We love it. So with that, this is Eric, and for Doug and Ryan, go Kangs.
Kangs.
Kangs. Thanks for listening to the Kangs Cast podcast. Make sure to subscribe and be notified for our next episode. Follow on Twitter and Instagram at KangsCast, like on Facebook, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.